Hi, good morning. I'll just do a quick sound check.
Good morning. We can see and hear you.
Good morning, Deputy McAlphy. Thank you.
Okay, great. And can you just let me know who's in chambers versus online?
Good morning. Sorry for the delay. We have Councillor Myers, Councillor Mantis, and Councillor Ainsley in the room present.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Just before I call the meeting to order, I just wanted to let members of the public know that generally when you make a deputation, so you're going to come to the podium down here, you do have 5 minutes to make a presentation. We're having some technology difficulties this morning. So if you do have something, an overhead or something that you wanted to display, to have put on the screens here, our IT staff are going to work with you to have it displayed over here. If you don't have anything that you need to display, that's great as well. But I just want to let you know if you do need to display something on the screens over here, there will be a bit of a delay while we get that set up. Okay, and saying all of that, I am going to call the meeting to order. Before we go into the official agenda, I would like to invite members of Community Council to observe a moment of silence and remember all of those who have fallen as a result of the invasion of the Ukraine, which began a year ago today. We also would like to take this moment to remember those who continue to live under constant threat of aggression and those who are now displaced as they fled to ensure their safety and survival. So if I could please ask everybody to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you very much, everyone. I am going to call this meeting to order. My name is Councillor Paul Ainsley. I'm the Chair of Scarborough Community Council. I'm joined on my left by Councillor Nick Manis, Councillor Jamal Myers, Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey is joining us online. She was presiding over a similar moment of acknowledgement of the first anniversary of the war in the Ukraine at City Hall, and so she is joining us remotely. Thank you, Deputy Mayor McKelvey. Today's meeting is being held with members of council and city staff participating both by video conference and in person at the Scarborough Civic Centre here in the council chamber. The Scarborough Civic Centre is open to the public and anyone is welcome to attend the meeting in the council chamber today. The public may continue to participate electronically by video conference. This meeting is also being live streamed online at YouTube at Toronto City Council's Live. The clerk staff have connected remote public speakers to the meeting by video conference, and there are public speakers in the room with us today. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Scarborough Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. I ask everyone for their patience with any delays and technical issues. One of them I just outlined. To the members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff will be available for members in the chamber and remotely if you need any help with your devices. As part of each agenda item, I will ask city council members to raise their hand or unmute their microphone if they wish to question staff or to speak. I'll then create a speakers list and will call on members when it's their turn to speak. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure that they turn on their video and raise their hand to indicate their vote. Members, this is a paperless meeting. I want to remind you that you must still submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at scc@toronto.ca to help with motions. For our land acknowledgement, I would like to acknowledge for the members of Scarborough Community Council that the land we are standing on today is the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty Number 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. At this point, I'm going to ask if there's any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Seeing none, if you do have an interest, if you could please raise your hand or unmute your microphone and indicate the item and nature of interest. Once again, seeing none. Members, could I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on January 27th, 2023? Moved by Councillor Mantis. All in favor? And that carried. At this point, I was going to ask if anybody has any new items of business they'd like to introduce. Councillor Myers? Yep. Thank you, Councillor Myers. So I'm just going to remind, we did have a reminder from Legal Services and Clerks yesterday about rules of decorum for the meeting. I'm just going to read through them. As always, Scarborough Community Council welcomes hearing from members of the public, either in writing or as a deputant at our meetings. Hearing from the public is a very important part of how our local representative democracy works. We also appreciate individuals may be passionate about and committed to hearing their views on a given subject, and you may want to convey this to Community Council. Members of this committee are also passionate about Scarborough and the people who live here. However, as chair of this committee, I'm not going to tolerate any inflammatory language as part of a deputation. If deputants conduct themselves in a manner, then they will not be permitted to continue speaking. Local representative democracy works only when we remain civil and express our views in respect of the issues in front of us and not in respect of any individual or group of individuals. Accordingly, I'd like to ask all deputants to respect our local representative democracy, the members of this community council, and all those who appear before this community council, and address the issues before us in a respectful and civil manner. I am now going to go through the agenda. Sorry, I'm just going to check for speakers list. Thank you, Ellen. All right. So the first item on our agenda is SC 3.1, 2993 to 3011 Sheppard Avenue East and 1800 to 1814 Pharmacy Avenue. It's an official plan amendment and zoning amendment final report. And there are deputations on this one, so I will hold this one down. SC 3.2, 4097 Lawrence Avenue East to 197 to 201 Galloway Road. This is an application to lift holding provision application in final report in Ward 24, which is my ward. I am going to move the recommendations. All in favor of the recommendations? That carries. SC 3.3, 54 to 62 Glen Everest Road, zoning amendment application. There are no deputants listed. This is in Ward 20, Councillor Crawford's ward. Councillor Crawford is not with us today. He asked me if I would move the recommendations on his behalf. All in favor of the recommendations? And that carries. SC 3.4, 5 Waltonice Road. This is an application for a fence exemption in Ward 20 in Councillor Crawford's ward. There are no deputations on this. Councillor Crawford did ask me to move the deferral. He wanted to speak with the residents on this street some more. So, Madam Clerk, I'm moving So the motion is before us to defer this until the April 20th, 2023 meeting. All in favor? And that item carries. Item number 5, sorry, I must turn page. Item number 5 is 2 Flintridge Road, an application for a fence exemption. This is in Ward 21 in Councillor Thompson's ward. Councillor Thompson's not with us today. He's asked for this to be deferred as well until the April 20th, 2023 meeting. Sorry, am I? No problem. You did that much better than I did. Thank you very much. So I'm moving the motion on the screen. Consideration of the item be deferred until April 5th, 2023, meeting of Scarborough Community Council. All in favor? That carries. Item number 6, SC 3.6, 16 Summerton Place, application for a fence exemption in Ward 22. There are 3 listed deputants, so I will hold that item. Number 7 is 20 SC 3.7, 20 Littleleaf Drive, an application for a fence exemption in Ward 25. There are speakers on this. I'll hold this for Deputy Mayor McKelvey. Or do you want me to hold it my name?
In my name's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. SC 3.8, 2461B, Eglinton Avenue East, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. This is Ward 20, Councillor Crawford's ward. Councillor Crawford asked me to move the recommendation on his behalf. All in favor of the recommendations? And that carries. SC 3.9 is 2-74 Zezel Way, rear lane, even numbers inclusive, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. This is in Ward 21, Councillor Thompson's ward. He's asked me to move the recommendations on his behalf. All in favor of the recommendations? That carries. SC 3.10, 1810 Markham Road, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. This is in Ward 23. Councillor Myers, move the recommendations. All in favor of the recommendations, moved by Councillor Myers. That carries. SC 3.11, 70 Alford Crescent, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. This is in Ward 25. Deputy Mayor McKelvey.
I'll move staff recommendations.
All right, all in favor of staff recommendations? That carries. Number 12, SC 3.12 is an all-way stop control at Brinloor Boulevard and Duncombe in Ward 24. Sorry, that's my ward, and I do have a motion that I would like to move. This is after much consultation with my residents. I think I need more coffee wherever my coffee cup is. This with many of my residents last year and up in through the election. So I'm moving the recommendation to remove the word "not," so that it now reads: Scarborough Community Council authorize all-way compulsory stop controls at the intersection of Brinloor Boulevard and Duncombe Boulevard. Any questions of me? Seeing none. All in favor of the recommendation? And that carries. Oh, sorry, item is amended. All in favor? That carries. Thank you, Ellen. Sorry, pages are sticking together. 13. SC 3.13, always stop control at Confederation Drive and Karen Ann Crescent. I do have a deputation listed on for that. So I'm going to hold that one in my name. (14) is an always stop control at Confederation Drive, SC 3.14, always stop control at Confederation Drive and Kohler Drive. I have a deputation for that. I am going to hold that down. (15) is an always stop control at Farmbrook Road and Cheyenne Drive. It's in Ward 24, SC 3.15, always stop control at Farmbrook Road and Cheyenne Drive in Ward 24. There's a deputation on that. I am going to hold that. Number 16, SC 3.16, always stop control, Luella Street and Center Street and Luella Street and Smythe Drive and Beachell Street in Ward 24. I have an amendment on this one. So these are two different stop signs in my ward. One's been approved by staff. The first one has been asked for by the local school, the local parent teacher association, and residents on that street. So I am moving a recommendation to remove the word not so that it now reads Scarborough Community Council authorize an all-way compulsory stop control at the intersection of Luella Street and Center Street. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? All in favor is the item as amended. That carries. Our next item is SC 3.17, an always stop control at Lynnbrook Drive and Earlthorpe Crescent and Lynnbrook Drive and Stoneton Drive. I have an amendment for this as well. Also not talking with any of my relatives, but all of the residents in the area. They've asked for these repeatedly. I heard loud and clear during the last election from residents on that street, concerns about safety, children crossing to get to the local school. So I am moving the recommendation before us. Basically deletes the word in both recommendations not to approve two stop signs. Any questions of myself? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? Seeing none opposed, item as amended, all in favor, that carries. SC 3.18, always stop SC 3.18, all stop control at Toynbee Trail at various locations. This is in Ward 24. We have a listed deputant, so I will hold that. Number 19, SC 3.19, traffic control signals at Bellamy Road and Banmore Boulevard and at Cedarbrae Boulevard in Ward 24. I have deputants listed for this. I will hold this one. SC 3.20, traffic control signals at Morningside Avenue and Wardsworth Road in Ward 24. There are deputants listed for this one. I will hold that in my name. SC 3.21, traffic control signals at Neilson Road and Oakmeadow Boulevard. This item was inadvertently added to the agenda. I'm moving a motion to withdraw it because there was supposed to be a community consultation meeting which hasn't been held yet. All in favor of the motion to withdraw, and that carries. And then SC 3.22, U-turn and parking amendments at Chartland Boulevard South in Ward 23. There are no listed deputants. Councillor Myers. Councillor Myers is moving staff recommendations on number 22. All in favor? And that carries. SC 3.23, appointments to the Business Improvement Area Boards of Management in Ward 23. Councillor Myers. Okay. Oh, sorry, you need to turn on your microphone.
Yes, we had an amendment just to replace one of the directors with another director.
All right, so the motion is before us. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? Carried. All in favor of the item as amended? And that carries. All right, we are back to number 1. All right, our first item of business that hasn't been held is S3 3.1 2993 to 3011 Sheppard Avenue East and 1800 to 8114 Pharmacy Avenue. This is an official plan amendment and zoning amendment. This is the final report. It is in Ward 22. And we have speakers listed. Just to remind everybody, so you have 5 minutes to, if you're listed as a deputant, you have 5 minutes to address community council. Each member of community council can ask you questions for up to 5 minutes. After that, we bring it back into committee where we can ask questions of staff on the item for up to 5 minutes individually. And then we each have up to 5 minutes if we do wish to speak on the item. And then there'll be a vote at the end of that on any motions or amendments that are put forward. So at this point, I am going to ask David Huntz. David Huntz here.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Huntz. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. You have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay. I'd like to share my screen if that's possible.
Yep, just be one moment.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you should be good now.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Good morning to the chair and members of Scarborough Community Council, city staff, and other stakeholders in attendance today. My name is David Hunt, and I'm a planner and partner at Belfield Inc., and we are the planning consultants acting on behalf of the owners and the applicant with respect to the redevelopment of the subject site at the southwest corner of Sheppard Avenue East and Pharmacy Avenue. I'm here this morning to speak to the proposal and put forward our support of staff's recommendation to approve the application for the 22-story mixed-use building. Submitted back in September 2019, I would like to express our gratitude to city staff for getting us here to this point with a positive staff report. This application was submitted just before the start of the pandemic, and staff were able to navigate through the many challenges we were all faced with, including going virtual with meetings and submissions. We have been working with staff, attended the community meeting, met with area residents and stakeholders, and have made revisions to the original application in response to the feedback received. We feel the result is an appropriately scaled building that conforms to the city's official plan policies and has been designed in a manner that is considerate to both the existing and emerging character of the area and mitigates matters of transition and scale. Going forward, we will continue to work with staff as part of the site plan approvals process to address the site plan related comments received to date. To orient everyone, this image shows the site's location on the southwest corner of Sheppard and Pharmacy. The site is currently occupied by 2 low-rise commercial plazas and represents an underutilization of the lands. The area has seen ongoing revitalization over the years, including most recently the completion of the Wish condo building to the immediate east. The proposed intensification of the site is not only in keeping with the types of developments currently along Sheppard, but supports the existing frequent transit service currently provided along Sheppard and the planned priority transit corridor. As the need for more housing continues to grow, so does the need to expand housing options. The applicant is excited about this project and believes it will positively contribute to the ongoing revitalization of the surrounding area. 22-story building will have a total gross floor area of roughly 28,364 square meters, including 1,597 square meters of non-residential space. A total of 410 homes are provided in the project with a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedroom units. There will also be indoor and outdoor amenity spaces, parking for both cars and bicycle parking. The 7-story podium provides a street wall condition that is consistent with the emerging context along Sheppard Avenue, and it has been designed with a strong relationship to the street edges with animated uses of non-residential along both street frontages. The tower is set back to give prominence to the podium building, while located at the northeast corner is well separated from the low-rise properties to the south and southwest. Our team worked closely with city staff, referring to the city's tools and guidelines to provide an appropriate transition and scale to the south and southwest through the use of generous setbacks and stepbacks. Here's the ground floor and how it will be programmed. In consultation with city staff, residents, and stakeholders, the importance of existing commercial uses on the site was clear. As a result, a strong emphasis has been placed on maintaining retail uses on the site at grade along both street frontages. As mentioned and shown here in blue, a total of roughly 1,600 square meters or 17,000 square feet of non-residential uses are proposed. The residential lobby, shown in the purple, is strategically located at the corner of the intersection, providing easy access to both streets. Internally, the ground floor provides both indoor and outdoor amenity spaces, while at the rear, access from Pharmacy Avenue, limited surface parking and bike parking allow for convenient parking for users of the retail non-residential space. In terms of building design, from responding to comments from staff and area residents and stakeholders, Kirkor Architects has designed a building that respects the surrounding emerging context. This rendering illustrates what I was describing earlier in terms of the proposal's relationship to the street and the use of stepbacks and setbacks and the location of the tower predominantly at the corner of the intersection. The proposal being considered before you today is a result of extensive collaboration and communication with city staff, the community, and Councillor Mantis. And we'd like to thank everyone that provided their comments through this process. We support staff's recommendation put forward before Community Council today. As such, we also recommend the approval of the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application. Thank you, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Are there any questions for the deputant? Councillor Myers, 5 minutes.
Hi, thank you for making your presentation. Through the chair, just a quick question. Is there any provision to ensure that some of the retail that's being lost is going to be replaced, such as the pharmacy and the convenience store, which I'm looking at some of the letters the residents depend on?
In terms of the zoning bylaw,
In the
zoning bylaw
retail,
has been prepared.
sorry, no, I meant like in the retail that's being proposed, are you also making space for the retail that's being lost? So I'm looking at a letter and I'm seeing here from the letter, there are a lot of seniors in the area and they depend on the pharmacy, convenience store, and other amenities. And if they don't have this, then they're forced to take a bus to travel to either Victoria Park or Warden. So I'm just wondering if your retail envisions having some of these similar retail stores that are going to be lost.
It's the intent of the owner to provide retail uses that accommodate the community, and so it is, in terms of the uses that are permitted in the zoning bylaw, we are allowing for a broad range of uses, including pharmacy uses or professional service uses, as well as personal service and retail stores. So that is the intent of what was being proposed here. In terms of the actual uses returning, the owners expressed interest for any of the returning tenants or existing tenants to return at the appropriate time. But that process will roll out or play out as the site gets redeveloped.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Myers. Other questions of the deputant? Nope. All right, seeing none, thank you very much, sir. The next deputant is Mr. Ron Richards. Yep, one of our staff will help you, Mr. Richards. Yep. Okay. Morning, Mr. Richards. You have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Good morning to you all. I want to read from my notes here. I'm here to put forward pressing issues I have with this proposed development in protection of my property rights and, for that matter, and my immediate neighbors. Firstly, I have been quite critical of the building setbacks and rationale used justifying them from the onset of providing concerns all along to city staff to this point. Could I have the first illustration? Okay. Okay, thank you. I certainly contend that a 45-degree angular plane that is being used to accommodate the setbacks and stuff, that in accordance with the city's building design guidelines for transitioning tall buildings, et cetera, down to smaller or lesser scale areas, should be taken from the existing ground line, which, as you can see from this demonstration, hasn't been done. What's shown in the red, which is kind of a little not quite clear, but that is my contention, is that it should come from the lower property. And certainly, when you look at this from the fact that it's on the southern end of the building, which partly affects my property and also my immediate neighbor, the planes that are given on the thing at the higher level do not originate from existing ground levels. Because they simply are, there's nothing there to exist to say that it's from the existing ground. So again, my contention is that it should be coming from the lower ground level at the property line. And as it demonstrates, I've never been directed or given any substantiated reference by the city towards guidelines that would dispel my interpretation on this issue. I presented it on a number of occasions, to say the least. Certainly, comments in the city's final report and some separate responses intimate minor projections, even from the lowest ground level, are acceptable for this proposed development. Well, in my terms of reference, such exceedance is more than minor in nature, as you will see by that red line, because it actually intercepts almost the second floor plate and certainly the third floor plate, which is more than a minor exceedance. Anyway, moving along, could I have the next illustration? Okay, in site grading, it's another significant concern for me. The current elevated grades on a general sloping from east to west of the subject properties, the sharp downslope behind the property line contributed to seasonal flooding conditions on my property. Revisions to earlier plans now indicate a considerable increase to the main floor elevation that to me can only exacerbate these conditions. I am skeptical of perceptions that proposed grades given can adequately directly merge the overland flow as indicated there by the arrows, simply because there's a narrow pathway and a tree-lined sodded strip that's supposed to be for landscaping. Personally, I just don't see that's going to be effective. And in addition, no details of the proposed retaining wall along this boundary are presented to visualize the impact of potential seepage along or underneath it during times, perhaps even as simple as times when you are watering the foliage that's going to be supposedly put on that strip of land. Could I have the next illustration, please? Installation of this retaining wall, as I mentioned, given proximity to, or as I see it virtually right on the property line, raises much concern for potential encroachment on my property, both during construction as well as requiring tree removals to facilitate it. I have in my submissions to city staff expressly been critical of the arborist reporting for misrepresenting tree locations, at least one of which I feel will be seriously damaged to the point of requiring removal, even though it remains shown to be protected through risk of injury. Could I have the next slide, please? Now, I think where you see these X's, that's where these trees are located. There's one right at the very top that I've promoted many times for the fact that it's not shown properly, again, from the arborist report. Certainly, all the trees straddle the property line, as my illustration attempts to show, and may well be a contentious issue for the property owner consenting to removal actions. A further concern, could I have the next illustration, please? A further concern is the P2 garage wall, as my illustration depicts, is proposed with external face as a mere 600 millimeters from my property line, which is less than 2 feet. I have an unsolicited plan showing proposed excavation limits, which would necessitate installing a shoring wall beyond the P2 wall face with tieback anchorages encroaching on residential properties. I, for one, find this situation unacceptable, and not only with potential tieback encroachment, excavation so close to the property boundary, and the issue with tree removals. I can point to a number of statements made in the city's final report on this development proposal. However, one that stands out says neighborhood protection policies in Chapter 4 prevail to ensure any new development respects and reinforces the physical character of established neighborhoods. I would like to believe such policies are being strictly adhered to, but unfortunately, I have doubts of this being the case. I understand the site process is not a public one, and noting inferences made in the city's final report for action, some concerns raised that are not fully addressed will be further evaluated later through such process. I would therefore respectfully request Scarborough Community Council not introduce the draft bylaws to City Council until at least a site control plan application is approved in consultation with my ward councillor and bordering neighbours. I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this morning, and I'm open for questions if I can answer them.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Richards.
Thank you.
Questions of the deputant? Yep. I'm fine to, can we ask staff to address Mr. Richards' concerns now?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
Sorry, we're just asking staff if they can address your concerns now while you're here before us, instead of waiting for us to ask staff while you're back in the audience.
I'm here, so yes, I don't have a problem with that if it can be answered.
Yeah. So who would like to address Mr. Richards' concerns?
I'll, excuse me, through the chair, I suppose, Mr. Richards, I'll start. So the specifics related to the application as it relates to angular plane and grading, I'll have my colleague, Sophie Knowles, address. She's the primary author of the report. However, the question about underlying designations with an avenue I'll take on to begin. The reason the policy is there is so that an official plan amendment would be required, and then the avenue segment policies would be reviewed, or the application would be reviewed, so that the neighborhood policies wouldn't be overturned by the avenue overlay. So in this case, we do have a site-specific official plan amendment. The amendment was adjusted from submission to be mixed use in order to capture the significant amount of retail and ensure the significant amount of retail is retained. And there's even part of the application, or sorry, part of the site-specific policy which secures the significant amount of retail. So that's the relationship between avenues and neighborhoods. And I'll turn over to Sophie now the questions about how we specifically addressed the transition elements on the proposed south wing of the building.
Yes, good morning. Through the chair, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Richards for outlining his concerns. With respect to the angular plane, staff investigated the issues that Mr. Richards raised, and we looked at the angular plane also from the lowest elevation on the neighboring property. And what we found is, yes, there are encroachments, as Mr. Richards has outlined in his presentation, but in the opinion of staff, these encroachments are minor, and the impact is very minor. With respect to minor, how staff have looked at this angular plane and have summarized it as minor is because there is no floor plate being captured in the angular plane. Angular planes, they're one tool that's used to assess and regulate transition from taller buildings to lower scale neighborhoods. And the goals are to provide adequate access to sunlight, privacy, and sky views. In this case, I think that Mr. Richards will continue to enjoy good access to all of those three factors. If I refer you to the site plan, which is, I think, attachment 8 on page 42 of the report, you'll see that the southern podium is set back 10 meters from the western property line, and then there are further step backs leading up to the 7th floor. The application was improved to improve privacy, such as the removal of balconies below the 4th level. Another factor considered is Mr. Richards has a very large backyard with an eastern property of about 31 meters, and this 7-story component of the podium, which is shown on attachment 8, it actually only affects a very small portion of Mr. Richards' property line, about perhaps 8 out of the 31 meters. The majority of the building adjacent to Mr. Richards' property line is actually set back much further. There's the 1-story podium for much of his property line, and then the main portion of the base building facing Pharmacy Avenue is actually set back more than 42 meters from Mr. Richards' property line. In summary, I think the proposed setbacks and step backs set out in this development proposal are acceptable and adequate transition is provided to Mr. Richards' property.
How far is Mr. Richards' home from the property line?
We can check that for you. I don't have a measurement offhand, just kind of ballparking it based on, let's see. This is
I'll tell you why I'm
42
asking the
meters.
question.
Yeah.
So if we have 32 meters for the entire property, in 8 of them, you're going to have now setbacks of the shadowing, I guess, going onto the property line. That's a quarter of the property.
So the shadowing impacts are discussed separately in the report. There's very minimal shadowing on the properties to the west, Mr. Richards' property. And this is because Mr. Richards' property is located on the west side of the development. So Mr. Richards' property is only affected in the early morning hours.
Okay. Okay.
Other, Councillor Mantis, you good?
Through the microphone. The concern about the P2 parking. What is the regulation or the requirements of distance underground from the property lines?
So parking lots are sometimes built below grade right to the property line.
Okay.
In this case, there's the 0.6 meters beginning at the second level below the P2 level.
Mm-hmm.
At the P1 level, it's set back further to provide adequate soil volume to allow mature trees to grow.
Will it in any way affect Mr. Richards' home or the property underground?
Through the chair, there are arrangements that the applicant would be needing to make with Mr. Richards through tieback agreements, which are private matters, and the city doesn't enforce or get involved with that. It is a building permit issue that if they can't build because it gets too close, they'll have to consider alternate construction methods that would make sure that the trees are preserved, make sure that there are no impacts to the specific property, and the grades are considered through both the site plan process and the building permit process to ensure that what's built doesn't impact adjacent properties.
So, Mr. Chair, do we vote on the item today, and then these are matters that would be secondary between the property owner and the builder? Okay. Thank you to staff.
Sorry, I just want to ask, so we approve this today. There's concerns that the residents had about what we just discussed around the underground parking. So we approve this today, then the developer is going to go and get his building permit, which will probably be rubber stamped because we approved this here today. And then the onus shifts completely off of the city onto the private resident for something that we approved. Is that not what we're about to do?
Through the chair to the chair, what you're approving today is the zoning. The site plan control application will secure grading and separation, right? Finalize that and secure those plans. And the building permit will, through a separate list of regulations under the building code, make sure that the parking structure can be properly constructed. If the construction method requires tieback arrangements, there's different ways of building underground. You can build a slurry wall, or you can tie back the lands with those.
Sorry, I understand all of that, but what you said earlier was that, so it becomes a process where it's an arrangement between the property owner and the developer. But that only happens if we approve this today, correct?
through the site plan, there's no securing of, this is a notional drawing of what the P2 level looks like. If they decide to amend how the P2 level works through the site plan application, right, that could create the same distance that Ms. Knowles was referencing for the P1. And then it's, which I found, there was nothing in Mr. Richards' comments that he was offended by or suggesting that was inappropriate. So through the site plan process, we could secure a different separation for the parking garage if that works. But there's nothing in the zoning bylaw put before you today that secures below grade setbacks. The parent zoning bylaw allows 0 meter setbacks, and we have not proposed that change.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, so we're going to move something today that kickstarts another process that we don't have any input in, and you said it becomes a private matter between Mr. Richards and the developer, correct?
The tieback.
But if we don't approve this today,
right,
the next process doesn't kick in. So how do we put something in place today that gives some protection to the resident so that we don't just absolve ourselves of this? And if he has issues with the developer, he's then paying legal fees by something that we approved here. Do you understand?
Yes, I'd like my colleague from Legal Services to step in here, Mark Peel, if only because in a previous world, we would have the opportunity to take instruction on site plan control, but that process is now fully delegated to staff. So Mark, would you be able to offer an opinion on this?
Yes, good morning through the chair. Hopefully you can hear me. And apologies for my craggy voice. I'm dealing with, I'm a little bit under the weather. Mr. Ventresca is correct that on account of amendments made to the City of Toronto Act by the province, matters of site plan control must be delegated to a city official or officer for approval. That delegation has happened. The City Council has delegated approval of site plan control to the chief planner. And therefore, site plan control is not a matter that is any longer in the purview of City Council. To bring it back to City Council would be contrary to the City of Toronto Act. Insofar as your questions were earlier about approval today and shifting onus to the owner, arrangements in respective matters regarding tieback agreements to the Mr. Richards and the applicant. Those kinds of arrangements, regardless of the planning regime, are private arrangements that would be subject to the laws regarding trespass and so forth, which would be, within civil and common law. So there's nothing as a part of a rezoning exercise, which is before Community Council today, that would engage any of those private matters.
So Mr. Peel, can we defer this item until the next Community Council while the developer meets with Mr. Richards to alleviate his concerns?
A deferral is within the range of options, I understand, of Community Council in respect of an item like this one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Yep. Mr. Richards was the last deputy. So, well, thank you, Mr. Richards. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in this morning. We appreciate you raising your concerns. So we have questions of staff on this item. Are you okay with? I'm okay with questions. Okay, speakers on this item? Councillor Mantis, it is your ward. I would like to. Sorry, you need your microphone.
Hearing everything and Mr. Richards' comments and the concerns of the community, I would like to put a motion to defer the item until the next Community Council meeting. So for the April Community Council meeting? Because we need to make sure that the concerns are addressed and any action that needs to be taken is taken before, because it's not right to put the onus on the residents after we've already voted upon this item.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mantis. Other speakers on this item? All right, and I'm going to support the deferral. I think that, I'm going to thank Mr. Richards for coming in this morning, raising your concerns with us. I've had instances in my own ward where this has happened before. We certainly don't want to put a process in place where the onus becomes your legal obligation and you're spending putting out a lot of legal fees and dealing with a developer. It's already unfortunate around the shadowing. I'm hoping something can be looked at with regards to that as well, but I will support the deferral vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, so we have no other speakers. So we have a motion before us by Councillor Mantis to defer this item to the next Scarborough Community Council meeting. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. All right, our next item is SC 3.6, 16 Summerton Place. This is an application for a fence exemption in Ward 22. We have 3 speakers listed. The first speaker is Ming Han Liu. Ms. Liu, are you here? She's not online, not here. All right, we'll try coming back to her. The second speaker listed on this item is Pauline Walters. Pauline Walters here online? Pauline Walters? She online? Okay. All right, Pauline Walters is online. Sorry, I have Pauline Walters and Courtney Walters. Are you Pauline and Courtney? Okay, Pauline and Courtney. So you each have 5 minutes, or if one of you wants to speak for 5 minutes on behalf of both of you, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready to start. Sorry, we're having trouble hearing you. Could you check your microphone? Sorry, Ms. Walters, could you try, I don't know if you need to increase your volume. We're having a really hard time hearing you. Is there any way you can move closer to your microphone?
Hear us? Are you able to hear us?
We can hear you now.
Okay.
Perfect. You have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much. Good morning, Deputy Mayor, Councilors, to the Liu family and City of bylaw personnel. This pool screen, I will apologize for my ignorance from the get start with the pool screen. I didn't realize that it fell under the bylaw of fence bylaw, so therefore it was not part of the original pool plan. However, with our yard has a elevation. From when you come in at the side of the house, the elevation is in excess of 1.65 meters, 5.4 feet. And we were looking to provide ourselves with some privacy. So this is why we decided to erect a screen around the southeast corner of the pool. In addition to taking care of the elevation. What the pool adds for us is it provides safety in regards to out of sight, out of mind. We do have at 72 Davisbrook a family that resides there with a special needs child, and in consultation with that resident, we both in agreement that it serves good safety for that. Privacy, like I mentioned, it gives privacy for both residents behind us because we are elevated looking down, as well as privacy to us from them being down looking up towards the pool. We do have dogs on property as well. I find that without the pool screen there, we've got an elevation at the far end of which would be at the east end of the pool deck, which the dogs would go and are looking down on the neighbors into their fence line. And in past, I've seen where the neighbor was in their backyard and the dog got startled and started barking at them, as well as when they have functions, the dogs are there looking right down, peering down from an elevation down at them and their party goers. In regards to the privacy screen, we also have trees that are planted between the fence line and the pool screen, adding a backdrop to it. We've right now have our cedars in there, and you can see in the pictures, I believe that you do have before you, as well as the plan when I had discussions with the Liu family, that I asked them to give us some time, and because I'm going to be adding more trees that will eventually cover up the fence that constantly looking at. These trees will eventually grow taller than the fence or the privacy screen, as well as having the privacy screen there. It will protect debris, leaves, and so what from the trees from going into the pool and later on possibly causing premature pool equipment damage. Sure.
Sorry, Brandon, we can't hear you. Sorry, Brandon, I need you to get closer. Sorry.
I'm still not loud enough.
Perfect, much better.
Is that
Much better.
is that better?
Much better.
Apologies. Apologies. We did run the test and it seemed to be working well, so I do apologize. I just want to add.
Apologize. Go right ahead.
In terms of my husband's submissions, I still want to point to written submissions that we provided for the application. As well, we have obtained support from our neighbors, and we provided written statements in each of those things that we provide to Councillor Mantis. So I'm hoping to have that information available for you. One additional comment. I believe our neighbor had January 27th, they had raised some issues around shadowing being created by the screen. And if you are turned to
Sorry, Marina, we're having trouble hearing you again.
Specifically, attachment D in the information is the number of photos of behind the screen, which also includes the neighbor who are complaining. I just wanted to indicate that demonstrate that there isn't any shadowing and the sun is able to access their garden. So I just wanted to indicate to you there are pictures there that counter the concerns that he's raised around shadowing caused by the screen.
Yes. Yes, Chair. So yeah, in regards to that property is to the east of the pool screen. So the sun comes up and there's plenty of sunlight in that in both yards. And as the sun sets down to the west in the evening, then we would obviously get shadowing on our cedars behind the tree, on the trees behind the screen. I just want to also put in there that we get along well with our neighbors on both the Liu family, very nice family, their son Ming, as well as all our neighbors to both sides of us, as well as in the back. The yard is a pie shape, so we share a fence line with 3 neighbors at the back, and obviously one on each side of us. So I'd just like to leave it at that in regards to our relationships, and we'd like to continue to have that great relationship with our neighbors, and hoping that we can come up with a concession. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Courtney and Pauline. Are there any questions of the deputant? No questions of the deputant? Thank you very much for your deputation this morning. I'm just going to check in again if we have Ming Han Liu. Ms. Liu? No? Okay. All right. Questions of staff on this item? No questions of staff? Speakers on this item? Councillor Mantis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having visited the residence and seen the landscape in the back, and listening to both as we had listened to Mr. Liu's deputation last month, and the comments from Mr. Walters and Mrs. Walters today, I had also asked for the support of the nearing residents to if they would be supporting, and all residents around the adjacent home are supporting the screen. So by saying that, I would like to move the recommendation to grant the application. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mantis. Councillor Mantis is moving the motion to grant this fence exemption. Or any questions of the mover? Seeing none. Other speakers on this item? Seeing none. So we have the motion before us to grant the fence exemption. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Sorry, item is amended. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. All right, our next item is SC 3. Pause, reset. Next item is SC 3.7, 20 Littleleaf Drive, an application for a fence exemption in Ward 25. We have 4 registered speakers. The first registered speaker is Adam Wheats. Adam Wheats, not here. Do we have an Adam Wheats online? No. Rajika Wheats? No. Frank Bonnen? Morning, Mr. Bonnen. Good morning. I have Frank Bonnen, then Evelyn Bonnen. Yes. You each have 5 minutes. Okay. Or did you want to speak for both of you, or?
Maybe.
Okay.
I have.
Evelyn's going to see how you do, I guess.
Exactly. I have.
All right, the pressure's on. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. I have some pictures on my iPad. Which
okay. Staff will come over and see if they can help you out. Did you email them in? No. Okay.
Sure. Kommt alle her. Kommt alle her. Nee, nee, komm Laura. Schatz, komm alle her. Mhm. Hm?
Having trouble getting your pictures. There are pictures of the fence in the report. I don't know if that helps or.
Okay, I can try to explain it as good as possible. The pictures, of course, would show a little bit more.
Yep. Are you not happy with the pictures in the report, or do you have
I
pictures
haven't
that
even seen the pictures in the report, and
you haven't seen the pictures in the report?
no.
Oh, okay. Why don't we can display the pictures in the report,
Okay.
and then because we're having trouble getting your
Yeah.
pictures, so we will display the pictures in the report.
Okay.
If you have issues with the pictures in the report,
Yeah.
from the angle they're taken at, or if you could just describe what your concern is.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So you have 5 minutes to start whenever you're ready.
Okay.
And we're just gonna put the pictures from the report up for you, so you can see them.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's one picture.
Yeah, there is some colored ones.
Yeah. That's one of the pictures I handed in. That's not a picture I handed in, but it's fine. Okay, so.
Okay, would you like to start? You have 5 minutes whenever you're
Yeah, I
ready.
might as well start. I mean, I tried to, to explain it better than last time. This time.
Yep.
So
Go right ahead.
First, I want to mention that the fence I built, like first of all, what you see there up front, that was not the fence in question anyways. It's all way below 2 meters. It's like further back where the exemption was from my neighbor. She had the exemption of a 2-meter-33 fence height. And I just matched along the same fence line the height of her fence. Actually, I stayed 10 centimeters less than her. And in the meantime, she has torn half of the fence off, left the other half of the fence still the exempted height, which is 233, and then called the city and said, let's see who has the higher fence. And this is how this all came about, because I built this fence 4 years ago after she built hers, just to make it look nice. That's all it was. In the meantime, she rips it down because there is a grudge for 5 years, and she just doesn't stop. So that's why we're really here. So since I can't show the other pictures, I can only say there was one more picture which I actually showed last time when I was here, which is actually a camera pointing right in our kitchen window. And I know it's not against the law, but it's just, who likes to have a camera straight pointed on your kitchen window looking at what you're eating for breakfast? That's just one other reason why I'm asking for that exemption too. And it's not the main reason, but it's just another reason. And let's see. And I'm not sure, oh yeah, that's another picture there. But that, well, those are the pictures which I sent today. No, I didn't send this one. That must have been taken by the inspector, because they were there, they measured that part and said that's perfectly okay with the height. So it's only the back part which you can't see on here. She has the same height fence as I do, but she doesn't like that I have it as high as her. So I can't really add too much more to it since I don't have the other pictures, and I'm not sure if that will do much good. But I'm just thinking if she had the exemption for 233, it shouldn't be a problem for me to have the exemption on the same fence line for 223, which is 10 centimeters less than what she had. Well, all I can say, thanks for hearing me, and maybe my wife wants to add a couple things to it that I forgot. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time. Actually, I'm probably not much better than my husband, but I just want to say that when we first moved there 30 years ago, we actually had cedars along that side, which our neighbor unfortunately cut off and then built the fence while we were on vacation. So when we came back, the old fence was existing and it looked really bad for us. So my husband himself built the fence, the one you see, except this is the neighbor's side, just to make it aesthetically good, look better. And then the neighbor decided, actually, I think a few months ago, she came with the sawzall and cut her built fence off. The fence that she had built by a company, she cut it off and then called the city and said, we're too high. And now she's saying to us, just wait, when we're done, I'm gonna have to hire fence. You know what I mean? So and I think the way everything is right now, the fence is a good idea just to keep us separate. It's unfortunate because we've been actually friends for over 20 some years before all of this. But it's no harm done. We just want to have our peace and hopefully not have to take the fence down just a couple of inches. Because we are in city guidelines except for that one area, like my husband mentioned, that we matched her exemption fence already. So that's about it. So hopefully it'll turn out good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So sorry, you built your fence to match your neighbor's fence. Sorry,
Yes.
in a nutshell, you built your fence to match your neighbor's fence.
Yes, because it looked really terrible.
They have a camera pointed towards your property.
We got that too, yes.
Then they cut their fence down shorter.
No, she cut it all off. She cut her existing fence all off after we built ours, and now it says she's waiting till we have to cut ours down, and then she will have another one built.
Okay, all right. And then,
So-
sorry, the fence at the front that extends from the gate down to the sidewalk is...
That's hers.
That's hers.
That's the only part left of hers, the one that's open.
Yeah.
Because she had it closed and the city told her to have it open because we can't see around the corner. It's a school walkway. So she was told by the city to have that open. We didn't even go all the way to the
Yeah.
front.
But now it goes... So she built a fence from your gate all the way to the sidewalk.
Yes, but her fence is no longer there except that one open part.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm deviated. Does anybody have any questions for the deputy? Deputy Mayor McKelvey? Nope. All right. Questions of staff on this item? All right. Thank you very much. I'm just going to try Adam Wheats and Drajika Wheats. Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Questions of staff? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Deputy Mayor McKelvey, questions of staff?
Thank you. This item was deferred last time because there was a couple of the photos in the report that showed two fences that were up. So is the photo that we just saw the most current picture of what's happening at the site? Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Through you, that is correct. Attachment number 5 accurately reflects the current condition of the fencing at the subject location.
Okay. And you had done some initial, so further investigation since the last report, all that is now.
That's correct.
And so we are looking at a total height difference is over, for the exemption is how much?
So the current height of the fence, consistent with the report, is 2 meters and 23 centimeters. So it's approximately 2.2 meters, and the permissible height is 2 meters.
So we're looking at about 23 centimeters?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor McKelvey. Other questions of staff? Councillor Mantis?
To staff, if the difference now in height is 30 centimeters or 23 centimeters, as it is with this fence, if there was an fence exemption originally for the owner on the beside, doesn't that, is there something in the bylaw that says that it would supersede the bylaw since it has already been exempted or for the first time?
So to answer your question, no, there's nothing in the bylaw that would supersede the bylaw. The property owner would still have to apply for an exemption. My understanding from listening to the deputy this morning and speaking with the officers that there was a prior fence, and that fence has since been removed. So the subject fence is merely 2.2 meters in height.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mantis. Councillor Myers, do you have any questions? You're the last one. Nope. All right. Speakers, Deputy Mayor McKelvey, this is in your ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move option 2 to grant the exemption for the fence at 20 Little Drive, and I believe the clerk has that prepared. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor McKelvey. So we have a motion in front of us to grant the fence exemption. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment? That carries. Item is amended. All in favor? That carries. Your fence exemption has been granted.
Thank you very much.
That's a relief. Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome. You too. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Our next item is SC 3.13, always stop control at Confederation Drive and Karen Ann Crescent. Mr. Wayne Grattan, you are up, sir. Leora, did you want to speak too? No? Just checking.
Good morning, folks. With regards to the intersection of Confederation and Karen Ann, I did send in a, I'm going to say a one-page explanation of why we'd like to have an all-way stop sign. The short version of this is it's a safety issue with regards to two situations. One is sight line. The intersection is actually not a 90-degree T. It's actually probably about, I'm going to say 80% and 110. And so on that angle, it makes it very hard to see the hill. If we look at the picture pointing to the east, I think that is probably the third picture down. Nope, next picture. There. And so when you're at that intersection, it makes it very hard to see the traffic coming down that hill. And so in the years that I've lived there, approximately 22 years, I've known 2 accidents at that intersection with regards to cars hitting the passenger side of cars coming out of Karen Ann. Karen Ann is the street to the south where you see the white lines. So the other issue that we run into is safety. The school bus actually stops twice a day right past that intersection to let the kids off, and the kids actually have to cross from the north to the south to get into Karen Ann. And plus during the, I'm going to say during the summer and evenings, we'll have kids that are actually out playing on the roads, on Confederation and Karen Ann. And ultimately, the stop signs will slow the traffic down with regards to the kids playing out on the streets. On Karen Ann, you can see where the yellow sign is. There's sidewalks, but those sidewalks are very short. They're probably about 100 feet. And then after that, the rest of the neighborhood to the south does not have any sidewalks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grattan. Any questions of the deputant? Seeing no questions of the deputant. So, Mr. Grattan, how long have you lived in the neighborhood?
It's been 22 years there, and ultimately north of Lawrence at Gulf Haven, that was another 15 years.
Okay, and there's lots of kids playing in the neighborhood?
Yes, yeah.
And have you talked with any of your neighbors about this installation of the stop sign?
We have, and I believe there's a few of them that may have sent in comments with regards to the stop sign.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much. Don't go too far. I think you're deputing on the next item as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions of staff? No questions of staff. Speakers on this item? So this is in my ward. I want to thank Mr. Grattan for coming in this morning as a longtime resident. I heard a lot of concerns about this intersection over the past few years, knocking on doors during the last election. Numerous people talked about their safety concerns, the increased number of children in the community walking back and forth to school. So I am moving an amendment to this item that the stop sign be installed. So the recommendation to remove the word "not," so that Scarborough Community Council authorize all-way compulsory stop control at the intersection of Confederation Drive and Karen Ann Crescent. Any questions of me? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes. Item is amended. All in favor? And that passes. Our next item is SC 3.14, all-way stop control at Confederation Drive and Kohler Drive. One registered deputant, Mr. Wayne Grattan. Mr. Grattan, you're up.
Similar situation. The difference for this one is it's on the other side of Scarborough Golf Club Road to the west, little bit further out of my neighborhood, but approximately a year and a half ago, we had a consultation with the, I'm going to call it Project Zero, and this came up on that, I'm going to say communications with the folks that were sitting on that committee. With regards to this intersection, it is a stretch of approximately, I'm going to say, a kilometer, and there's no traffic signs in between. It is, with regards to sight lines, it is a very curvy road, Confederation between Scarborough Golf Club and I think it's, I forget the name of Greencrest. And because the curves in the road, and you can see to the east, the one curve there, and if we go to the picture to the west, that's the picture to the north. The west one will be the next picture. There, you can see the hill, and just past the hill is where there's another curve. So at that intersection, it's an S. This is the highest point of that road, and being a stretch of approximately a kilometer, traffic's very high. The neighborhood is a transitioning neighborhood. There's a lot of young families and kids, again, on the street. And at just before this intersection is where the school bus stops to drop the kids off.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Grattan. Any questions of the deputant? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Grattan. Questions of staff on this item? Speakers on this item? So this is in my ward. I'm pretty much the same comments as on the last item. I want to thank Mr. Grattan for coming in. There's a lot more children in this area going to the local schools. Cornell Park, it's probably one of the busiest parks in my school. A lot of kids walk along Confederation Drive to get to that park and the local schools. We had some discussions around Vision Zero a couple of years ago, asking for this stop sign to be installed. I heard from a lot of residents when I was door knocking on the last fall during the election. So I will be moving recommendation to also, similar to the last one, remove the word not so that it now reads Scarborough Community Council authorize an all-way stop, compulsory stop control at the intersection of Confederation Drive and Kohler Drive. Any questions of the mover? Being me, seeing none. All in favor of the amendment? That carries. All in favor of the item as amended, and that carries unanimously. Our next item is SC 3.18, all-way stop control at Toynbee Trail at various locations in Ward 24. We have one registered speaker, Mr. Daniel Correa. Is Mr. Correa not here? Is Mr. Correa online? Did I skip one? Oh, sorry, I crossed it off by accident. Actually, what, can we do this one and then go back? Or do you want to? We'll stay with number 18 for now. Is that possible? Sure. Yeah. Is Mr. Cree online? Mr. Cree is not online? All right, okay. So we did have one registered speaker on this, Mr. Daniel Correa. He's not here. Are there any questions of staff on this item? Seeing none. Speakers on this item? So this is in my ward. So this is Toynbee Trail. It's a very long section of Guildwood in my ward. There's no sidewalks on either side. I've been having a lot of complaints about speeding here. There's been some interest by residents about speed bumps, but not a lot of interest. A lot of people have been requesting stop signs along Toynbee Trail at a number of locations on the south end where there aren't sidewalks. So I am moving a motion to amend the recommendation to remove the word not so that stop signs can be installed. Sorry. My apologies. I thought I went to clerks ahead of time. So I'm removing the word not so that, yep. Yes. Yes. Okay. It's up to you. Yep. All right. So we'll hold that down. All right. So we're going to hold that one down. And we're going to go back to number 15. My apologies to the clerks. I thought I emailed that last night. So we're going to go back to SC 3.15 and all-way stop control at Farmbrook Road and Cheyenne Drive. We have one registered speaker, Mr. Jay Barnes. Sorry, my apologies. Jay Barnes.
That's me.
My apologies.
That's quite all right. No problem, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Deputy Mayor McKelvey and Mr. Chair and councillors for listening to my Concerns today, being a longtime resident of the area, I would say my entire life, I have never seen any incidents in this particular intersection. It is a T intersection. There are no sidewalks on the north side of Farmbrook and no sidewalks on the west side of Cheyenne Drive. Therefore, pedestrians have difficulty walking, and I would think that sidewalks would be a more interesting use of our money, but that's not my role. The Transportation Division in your city has said that we do not recommend these based on traffic volumes, incidents such as accidents or near misses, and there have been 0. So I am against bypassing this amendment by the Transportation Services. I support their recommendation, and I encourage the Scarborough Community Council to not approve this stop sign. It will be very difficult for people coming off Bellamy onto Farmbrook, because there are people who park on the road because it's residential, and it's a bit of an S curve going through. So I think from that perspective, sightlines would be problematic. And it's also about 50 meters from where they come off of Bellamy Avenue Road to Farmbrook Road. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Appreciate your time coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Any questions of the deputant? Seeing none. So we do have the recommendation before us not to install the all-way stop control at Farmbrook Road and Cheyenne Drive. So I will move the staff recommendations. All in favor of the staff recommendations? And that carries. All right. All right, sorry about that. We're going to go back to number 18, SC 3.18, always stop control, Toynbee Trail at various locations. We did have one registered speaker, Mr. Daniel Correa, who I understand is not available. All right. So based on feedback that I got from the community on this item, not wanting to have always stops at the various locations, so I'm going to move the recommendations in the report. All in favor of the recommendations in the report? And that carries. Sorry about that, I got confused with the one, which is why you didn't get an email. My apologies. Our next item is SC 3.19, traffic control signals at Bellamy Road North and Banmore Boulevard and Cedar Brae Boulevard. We have 3 registered speakers. The first speaker is Ms. J. Barnes. I have my moments. And you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. I will pass on the introductions as I've done so already. Similar to my prior concern about the Cheyenne and Farmbrook issue, the Transportation Services has declined to move forward with this because of traffic and incidents that have happened. There have been 0 accidents or incidents that I am aware of. There are stoplights at East Park and Armillo, which are about 400 meters, 250 from that intersection. It is an intersection that's been like that for a long time. Again, as I've said, I've lived in here all my life and never had any incidents there. There are no sidewalks on the Cedar Brae side of the intersection, which is the west side, and there are no sidewalks on the east side of Banmore, where there is, the north side has no sidewalks, the south side does, and there also a T stop sign coming out from Cheyenne onto Banmore, so the distance from the Banmore Cheyenne stop to the traffic lights might cause some issues. I believe that the transportation Recommendation should be upheld, and because have been 0 incidents and the traffic volume, I believe, does not support it. As to my prior question or suggestion on the prior Cheyenne Farmbrook, is that perhaps maybe sidewalks might be installed, because people do walk on the street and it makes it very hazardous for motorcycles, vehicles to traverse that road safely, not only for them, but also for the pedestrians. And those
All
are
right.
my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Any questions of the deputant? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time again. I very much appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Our next deputant is Ms. Cindy Stoller. And would you be Andre Hondick?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Ms. Stoller, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you for having us this morning. Ms. Barnes said much of what I'm probably going to repeat, so be patient. Andre and I, we've lived on Banmore for almost 20 years, and we really love our neighborhood. As you know, we're very active. We know our neighbors know us, so we're very familiar. I got the email about the councillor's proposal for the traffic lights. So I did speak to a few neighbors, and they also share our opinions on this issue. As per the report for action, the Transportation Services doesn't recommend the installation of the traffic control signals at this intersection, as the warrant criteria were not met. We agree with this recommendation because of the following reasons. And Ms. Barnes, she actually touched on this. On the report, it says the collision history provided by the Toronto Police Service for the 3-year period ending December 31st, 2022, disclosed 0 collisions. And in almost the 20 years living in this neighborhood, going through that intersection dailies as drivers and pedestrians, there have not been any incidents of collisions or pedestrian mishaps that we've witnessed or heard of from neighbors or otherwise. In fact, on the City of Toronto website, it actually states that rear-end collisions may increase when a signal is installed. Normally, city staff are willing to trade off an increase in rear-end collisions for a decrease in mere severe angle-type accidents. However, when there's no angle-type accident problem at an intersection, a traffic signal may actually raise the number of accidents at an intersection. So I think this installation of traffic lights here could create the necessary risk of collisions and pedestrians getting struck. It's a risk that now is currently negligible, as history has shown. Therefore, the warranting of installing these traffic lights is based on the number of collisions potentially preventable is inapplicable due to 0 collisions at this intersection. Another issue is, in addition to the increase in accident frequency, unjustified traffic signals can also cause excessive delays, disobedience of signals, and diversion of traffic to inadequate alternate routes. And the report for action actually touches on this as a consideration to take into account, that there could be potential increase in the traffic infiltration on Banmore Boulevard and Cedar Brae Boulevard. And this would be from drivers wanting to avoid these light standards by taking their detours through our neighborhoods. We have pedestrians, bicyclists, and children who could be put at risk when crossing these streets or going from one part of the park to the other. So we have the entryway to Cedarbrook Park, and it's quite a high traffic area. Banmore is also very windy and hilly, and a frustrated driver diverting into our neighborhood, speeding through there, and doesn't know the topography, that could be potentially dangerous. Another issue we have with this is unnecessary idling of cars. Okay, to reduce the flow leads to more idling, equates to more pollution, increased gas consumption, and overall negative environmental impact, as well as wasting time. The average time at a stoplight is anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. The perfect example of this, and I won't get into too much, a perfect example of this is at East Park and Bellamy. I understand why these lights were installed because of the bus shelter. The bus shelter was hindering vision for anybody turning left from East Park, but these lights aren't synchronized. And an example is a driver will be stopped on Bellamy going southbound from Lawrence, and if they get the green light, they'll immediately get the red light on Bellamy at East Park, and it's a big time waster.
Sorry, Cindy, can I just ask you to wrap up? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, okay.
No, it's my apologies. I didn't put your timer on. And
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
You're almost at your 5 minutes.
Okay, can I just have one? I won't talk about okay, so the point is too many lights. Like, what, are we gonna have 4 lights every 400 meters on that street? One, neighborhood aesthetic. The neighbors' houses, their backyards are facing Bellamy. They're sitting outside at nighttime. They see the aura of the red, yellow, green lights. So in closing, I'm not at liberty to speak to to all the individuals, but I think that these traffic lights will have a negative impact in our neighborhood. We would like to preserve the integrity of our neighborhood and continue improving it for the better. We respectfully ask that the proposed traffic signals at the corners of Cedar Brae, Banmore, and Bellamy be vetoed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Really appreciate your time and your comments. Any questions of the deputant? Seeing none. And Cindy, I did ask my staff, they've made a note. They are going to look into the timing of the other 2 signals.
Okay, thank you.
We will look into that.
Appreciate it.
Andre, did you want your 5 minutes?
I always come home from work.
Yeah.
And immediate heading southbound, as soon as that light turns green at Bellamy, you're right into a red light.
Yeah.
It's green when you leave, and all these cars just stop again.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. My admin assistant's made a note of that. He looks after all my transportation stuff in my office. So we're going to reach out to staff to get that resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No questions of the deputants. Thank you very much. Really appreciate both of your time and your interest in the community too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions of staff on this item? No questions of staff. Speakers on this item? So I am going to support the recommendation of the Scarborough Community Council not authorize the installation of traffic control signals at Bellamy Road North and Banmore Boulevard / Cedar Brae Boulevard. Any questions of the mover, which is me? Seeing none, all in favor of the recommendations before us, and that carries. Our next item, 19 is done. I'm on 20. All right. SC 3.20, traffic control signals at Morningside Avenue and Warrensworth Street. We have 2 registered speakers. The first speaker is Mark Frigol. All right. Mr. Frigol is online. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the council to talk in support of the traffic lights at this intersection. My first point is that I understand the recommendation from city staff to not support this request is based on the vehicle traffic count done on February 1st, 2022, that did not meet the justification criteria. I want to point out that February 1st, 2022 was at the height of the Omicron COVID wave, the period with the most COVID case count in the entire 3-year pandemic. I previously submitted a picture of the case count in Ontario to support this point. Ontario was in a modified stage 2, where indoor dining gyms were closed, retail were at 50% capacity, where I work at the University of Toronto, the campus was shut down until February 7th. Staff were working from home and all classes were online. As such, While people were staying at home, the vehicle traffic on the day where the traffic data was produced is not representative of normal driving conditions. If council doesn't approve the traffic lights outright, my recommendation is to at least redo the vehicle and pedestrian count now that vehicle traffic has increased significantly since that period of lockdown. This should be done midweek since more people work from home Mondays and Fridays, and it should be done during the school year. It would also be interesting to see the data on a Saturday. Despite the reduced traffic at the height of the pandemic, the report by city staff shows the delayed cross traffic to be 72%, just short of the 80% threshold satisfied that justification criteria. It will surely be above 80% now, and likely also the vehicle volume. Second, I submitted on record a picture of the neighborhood that is affected by this traffic light. I can share my screen if needed. All the residents in houses in the red square in the picture, if they want to go northbound on Morningside Avenue, Warrensworth Street is the only way. There are no intersections for this community to make a left turn at a light. The two other traffic lights on Morningside Avenue mentioned in the report, north and south of Warrensworth, are both inaccessible. The alternatives for residents would be to do a left turn on Kingston Road from Falaise Road, and then again left on Morningside, but that's not even a proper intersection to turn left and very dangerous to do so. Residents could also turn left on Lawrence, left on Kingston Road, and again left on Morningside, but that's an equally bad option. So there's no real alternative. Third, on Morningside Avenue, there's even though there's 4 lanes, 2 of them are reserved bus lanes. All traffic on both directions are forced into a single long line of cars, making it even more difficult to turn compared to before this installation of reserved bus lanes. The report also notes 2 other considerations that I wanted to address. The loss of 6 on-street parking spots. The impact there, I think, is negligible since it's a residential street where houses have driveways. The report also notes possible delays for buses on Morningside Avenue. The impact there is also negligible with the reserved bus lane for only 2 bus routes, the 116 and 905. And also, I'm sure the traffic lights on Morningside could be programmed to prevent hitting 2 red lights in a row. In summary, the traffic lights at this intersection is badly needed. Residents shouldn't have to wait upwards of 5 minutes to turn left on Morningside Avenue. If it's difficult for the council to approve at this time, I recommend doing another traffic assessment and vehicle count now that driving conditions are somewhat more normal and more representative than the one done on February 1st, 2022. If after that, council still cannot approve the traffic lights, my recommendation would be to remove the reverse bus lane on Morningside Avenue only, which would help traffic on Wordsworth Street. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fregal. Any questions to the deputy? Seeing none. So, Mr. Fregal, the other issue that I see on sorry, did we just lose him? I just lost him on my screen. Mr. Fregal, you're still there.
Yeah.
One of the other concerns that I get from a lot of people, and I've heard from a lot of students at West Hill High School, is they find this intersection very dangerous, both in the morning and the afternoon when they're walking up and down Morningside Avenue. And I'm starting to get complaints as well as we're coming out of COVID and the traffic is increasing at lunchtime as well when the kids are going from West Hill down to Morningside and Kingston Road for lunch. I don't know if you're hearing any of those concerns as well in your neighborhood.
Definitely, and I see that. My wife takes our kids to school morning and goes pick them up at Saint Michel in the ward next door. And just turning left also is a problem. And because there's so little opportunities to make a turn, people are taking risk into traffic. And I think definitely since February 1st, 2022, that now that traffic has increased is definitely a concern.
Yeah, and I'm finding now the complaints are increasing.
I was going to say,
Sorry, the complaints are increasing throughout the day as well. I'm finding people are, once again, as we're coming out of COVID, I'm getting more complaints about turning throughout the day. And myself, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon a couple of weeks ago, I actually waited close to 10 minutes to get out of Warnsworth. And I think it was a combination of, school kids crossing in front of me, but also traffic on Morningside trying to get across the red lanes in and out of Warnsworth.
Agreed.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this morning. Our next deputant is Mr. Ahmad Hamadullah. Not on? You don't have him? Okay. Okay. Our last deputant is not here, and he's not online. We will now go to questions of staff. Questions of staff on this item. Deputy Mayor McKelvey. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask city staff what conversations they've had with TTC around this.
Through the chair, Councillor McKelvey, yes, staff did consult with the TTC prior to this report being prepared. Those comments are not included in the report, but they did respond to us subsequent to the preparation of our report, and they were in support of our position. Specifically, they noted potential concerns. They said a new traffic control signal may increase delays to their service and would also require modifications to the paint treatments associated with the bus priority lanes.
We have I'm fully supportive of the bus lanes, but there is often a backing up of cars when a car wants to turn left or right, or how would putting a light in here affect traffic through this area?
Through the chair, Councillor McKelvey, we would have to coordinate it with the adjacent traffic control signal. So there would be increased delays. We would attempt to mitigate those. As I said, they would be coordinated, but there would be potential increases to delays to traffic on the main street.
What is the distance to the nearest protected crossing in the area?
So to the north, through the chair, it's approximately 140 meters, I think, to the next traffic control signals to the north, and that's directly in front of West Hill Collegiate Institute. And the next traffic control signals to the south on Morningside Avenue are at Teft Road, adjacent to West Hill Public School, and that's about 160 meters to the south.
Okay. Have you looked at other traffic control options for the intersection or adjusting the timing of the lights at West Hill or Teft Road?
Through the chair, in terms of traffic controls on this section of Morningside, the most appropriate would be traffic control signals. I don't believe we would consider a pedestrian crossover on a major arterial road, so that would be the control if it were to be recommended. That was what the studies looked at. And with respect to, I guess, looking at the timings of the adjacent traffic control signals, as I said, it would be coordinated if a new signal were installed here, but we wouldn't, I guess, adjust the signal timings right now if that's the intent. To provide gaps for traffic here. We would want to prioritize the movement of traffic on the arterial road, which is Morningside.
Okay. And the cost of installation of a traffic light here is what?
As stated in the report under the financial impacts, it would be approximately $200,000.
Okay. And the properties, would the crossing impact any properties in the area?
I don't believe so. Again, that would be determined through the detailed design, but in most cases, traffic control signals, the poles and associated hardware can be completely installed within the right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor McKelvey. Other Councillor Myers, question of staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, just a quick clarification. On the top of page 4, it says The TTC has been consulted, but has not yet provided feedback on this request at the timing of writing this report. So is that, so, and then you had said that they had provided feedback, so I just wanted to clarify.
That is correct. So when we submitted this report to the agenda, we didn't have their comments. They commented back to us after this report had been submitted.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Myers. Other questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, so I do have some questions. I just wanted to ask, so as the ward councillor for this area, most of the issues that have arisen around this intersection, aside from the kids going south on Morningside back and forth at lunchtime and before and after school, most of the issues around this intersection arose after the red lanes were installed on Morningside Avenue to increase the speed of buses and not having any interference on Morningside. Was any traffic study done of this intersection to understand once the red lanes were put in if they would be an impediment to access in and out of Warnsworth?
Through you, I don't believe so. But it is logical, I guess, to assume that if the lanes are reduced, that there will be less gaps for traffic, not just at intersecting side streets, but driveways as well.
Okay. And then one of the other complaints that I get from a number of people, not only at this intersection, but along the length of the red lanes. So when people are turning in and out, in particular, if you want to, at this intersection, I'll use it as an example. If you're going south on Morningside and you want to go east on Beath, so there's hash marks in the red lanes at intersections where people can drive through them. But there's no signage anywhere that identifies what those hash marks mean. Is that something that's being looked at in the future to be dealt with? Or how do you communicate what those hash marks in the red lanes mean?
Through you, Chair, I'd have to follow up with our staff. That wasn't the initiative of my unit. I do apologize, but I can certainly follow up with staff and get an answer back to you. But unfortunately, I do not know at this time what the communication plan is.
Okay. And then one of the other intersections that I have on Morningside Avenue that actually my ward shares with Deputy Mayor McKelvey's ward at Danzig Street, those lights were put in at the request of the community on both sides around traffic issues getting in and out of Morningside. And my understanding is there's a mechanism in place that, so they don't turn red or green on they turn more often if there's a car on either side of Danzig trying to get on a Morningside. There's some type of mechanism in the roadway that turns a signal. That could be done at this intersection as well?
Through you, yes. So again, that would be determined through the detailed design, but in all likelihood, the signals would operate as what we call semi-actuated, which means that they would not cycle constantly. It would remain green for north-south traffic on Morningside unless a pedestrian pushed the button to cross or a vehicle was detected, and then it would cycle. But otherwise, it would stay green for the main street.
Okay. And through the design work, you would look at coordinating with the lights at West Hill, Collegiate, and the intersection further south between Warnsworth and Kingston Road?
Through you, Chair, yes, we would certainly look to coordinate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Those are my questions. Speakers on this item? No speakers on this item? So I do have a motion that I'm going to move. And so I am moving a motion that the recommendation from city staff be deleted and replaced with City Council authorize the installation of traffic control signals at Morningside Avenue and Warnsworth Street. And just a bit of history for my colleagues. Deputy Mayor McKelvey and I do share Morningside Avenue. It splits our ward north-south. I'm fully supportive of the red lanes that were put in between Eglinton Kennedy Station and the University of Toronto Scarborough, along Eglinton, Kingston Road, and up Morningside. This is one of the busiest bus routes in Scarborough. So I'm very supportive of the red lanes. One of the issues that came along with the installation of the red lanes, though, there was a number of intersections where I wish the traffic department and traffic services had done more coordinated studies of different intersections, and Warnsworth is one of them. Before the red lanes were put in, there's 2 lanes of traffic each way on Morningside. With the red lanes, there's 1 lane of traffic each way. At intersections, there are gray hash marks that we haven't done a great job of explaining to people. If somebody's turning left going south on Morningside, you can actually drive into this part of the red lanes, the hash marks to get around the cars turning left. Cars turning onto Morningside Avenue from my side, Warnsworth, the Beath side on the other side, often you can get behind somebody, they don't understand, they can turn into the red lane and merge into the regular lane of traffic. It's a huge issue at this intersection as well. West Hill Collegiate is just north of this intersection. There's a lot of students that go up and down Morningside Avenue, both to get to school in the morning, back and forth to lunch. There's a number of great restaurants on Kingston Road at Morningside. I encourage people to try them if you haven't. But students love those restaurants. They're back and forth, in particular at lunchtime, but throughout the day and then at the end of the day. I've had a lot of near misses of students. The principal at West Hill Collegiate has reached out to me, is very supportive of traffic control signals at this intersection. We've had the bus stops removed at this intersection to decrease the jaywalking. But with COVID, cars getting in and out of Warnsworth have greatly increased. I've had instances when I have been driving over the past 3 or 4 months when I've waited 10 to 15 minutes to get out of Warnsworth onto Morningside Avenue. So I think the stoplights here would be a great benefit to the community. I'm looking forward to working with staff on the design of it. I think it can be done with the least amount of interference, but also greatly improve vehicle access, pedestrian use of the intersection, and also respect the needs of the TTC to get residents on this very busy route back and forth. So that's the motion that I'm moving before us. I hope I can have my colleagues' support. Are there any questions of myself on the motion? Seeing none, so we do have the motion before us. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Item is amended. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. And I believe we're done. Bills? All right. I'll take my timer off. So we do have a motion to move the bills. Councillor Mantis? Sorry? Yep.
The introduction and consideration of bills for enactment of bylaws?
Sorry, motion on.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Bills 190 to 195 prepared for the February 24th, 2023 meeting 3 of the Scarborough Community Council be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All in favor of the motion, as read by Councilor Mantis? That carries unanimously. Councilor Meyer, would you like to move the next one, please? Confirmatory vote?
That confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 3 on February 24th, 2023 be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All in favor of the confirmatory bills? That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor McCullough's moving. All in favor? And that carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Cindy and Andre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I had written